Reclaim. Based on the British Railway series by Simon Martin. Written and adapted for audio by Butterfly Coffee. Mr. Turner sat at his desk, lazily reading through the small pile of envelopes that lay waiting for him. The sunlight streamed through the window, and the noise of the station below rang in his ears. Tannoy announcements, milling passengers, and engines at work were all very commonplace to him. As hard-working and serious a man as he was, he never usually failed to take a moment to enjoy the noises of whistles, buffers clanking together, and the barking of arriving or departing engines. One noise he didn't enjoy, however, was the telephone, which promptly rang and startled him back into the real world. Straightening himself up, he took the wailing thing and held it up. Newton Abbot MPD, Shedmaster Turner speaking. Mr. Turner sat listening to the speaker, interjecting occasionally to relay information. As the conversation drew on, he began to slump forward in his seat, idly picking up a pen and tapping it on the desk. His tone grew weary. So how are those panniers coming along? They'll be behind schedule and some of them aren't even coming here? New firebox? New cylinders? Well, how many can I... Right. I see. Yes, I understand little else can be done, but what is there that we can do? That's almost certainly an option, yes. I'll see if I can't do that then. All right, thank you, goodbye. He put the telephone back down and sighed, running a hand through his hair, before picking up the phone once more and punching in a number. Hello, operator. Yes, put me through to Bath Green Park MPD, would you please? It's regarding their engine I have on loan. Yes, I'll wait. Mr. Turner picked up his pen and began tapping it again. He sat waiting for only a minute before he heard a voice on the other end of the line and spoke. Good morning, sir. This is Shedmaster Turner at Newton Abbot Station. I was after a favour, if you don't mind. Excellent. Listen, I'd like to talk with you about 4760. Outside, Hercule found himself arranging another of Louise's branch line trains. As he shunted the coaches to the platform, he overheard a porter talking to the station master. That's so, eh? Well, it's the plan. We don't know if it'll actually work. The Shedmaster's working on it now. Hercule brought the coaches to a halt and listened intently. Course it'll work. Turner's done this sort of thing before, hasn't he? I wouldn't be so sure, the station master said. This is Bath Green Park we're dealing with. If the new engine's loan can't be extended, motive power will be even more of an issue. Mr. Turner's going to have to try every trick he knows so he can get the Ginty to stay on. Hercule was very surprised. He watched the two men go about their jobs, feeling uncharacteristically speechless. And then they said what? They said they need to get the loan extended. Hercule and Louise were talking about the conversation Hercule had heard a few minutes earlier. The two of them felt uneasy. I don't know if that should sound fishy or not, the 4200 murmured. Of course it should, insisted Louise. It must mean that the Midlander is to be leaving. Transferred elsewhere, I assume. Well, don't go getting ahead of yourself. We must inform everyone of the matter. Hercule's warning fell on deaf ears as Louise took charge. I'm sure to pass someone on my travels, and you must too. Okay, slow down. Hercule was firm. Let's not blow this out of the water, so to speak. For all we know, 4760's loan could be extended. If we go worrying about it, everyone will end up a gibbering wreck. This old yard could get a bad case of Chinese whispers because of some daft misunderstanding. So not a word, I should think. Chinese whispers? What in Brunel's name are those? My driver calls them whispers round the yard. Someone tells you one thing and you end up changing the story so it becomes something else. And the process keeps going till the final thing is a million miles off of what was originally said. And with how much you gossip, I reckon it will end up like that, so not a peep out of you, okay? Why, you? Louise was cut off by the guard's whistle, so she puffed haughtily away. Hercule watched her go. He hoped to Bristol and back that Louise would keep quiet. She didn't. Louise met no one on her way to Morton Hampstead, but she did run into Lizzie after returning home. The freighter seemed ambivalent about the news. It'll be less cluttered here, I'll give you that, but it makes the lack of engines here worse. You know me, Louise, I don't do Midlanders well, but Hercule can't work a whole station and shunting yard by himself. Maybe when we get those new panniers in, then she'll go. Lizzie then went on to tell Duchess, who was also rather surprised. Little 4760 hasn't even been here a month, and there's already talk of her going? I highly doubt that, Lizzie. In fact, how did you even get such an idea? That ain't nothing to do with me, Lizzie replied. Louise told me, and Hercule told her. Duchess sighed heavily. Louise always was quite a gossiper, wasn't she? Well, where did Hercule hear it? You're asking me. Well, does 4760 know about this? Don't think so, Lizzie replied. If she is going, we should tell her. It would be a rotten shame after her performance in the yard. She's been such a help to Hercule, and hearing of her trip to Dawlish after Kingdom failed was such a delight. The Midlanders on loan, Duchess. She'll get the off sooner or later. Lizzie was quick to remind Duchess of the circumstances under which 4760 had arrived. She paused. You don't want her to stay, do you? Certainly I do, Duchess remarked. 4760 is polite and hard-working. I think she'll mature into a lovely engine, don't you? Lizzie rolled her eyes. Anyone would think I'm living at a station where everyone's away with the bloody fairies, she muttered to herself. Besides, it's not you who gets the final say on the matter. You know that. Oh, I know, Duchess said. I just think 4760 would be a wonderful addition to the fleet. She chuckled to herself. The flitting fantasies of an old engine, I suppose. Yeah, we'll go with that. Bye-bye. And Lizzie puffed off before Duchess could catch her. By the end of that morning, every mainstay of Newton Abbot had heard about 4760 potentially leaving. Hercule had a fair lot to say to Louise on the matter, complete with threats and colourful language that got him a roasting from the station master. Duchess was nearby to calm them and set the final warning to them both. Nothing more was to be said until everything had been properly resolved. It took a bit of convincing for Louise to agree, but agree she did. As she and Duchess set off with their afternoon trains, Hercule went to find the ginty in question. Looking around the small yards next to the station itself, he could see 4760 wasn't there, so he went to check the engine shed. When she wasn't there, he asked his crew to check the workshops. She wasn't there either. He finally checked Hackney Yard up and down, and not seeing her sent Hercule into a bit of a mild panic. Oi, slow down there, you plonker! Lizzie hissed as Hercule raced back along the coal road. The hell do you think you're running in here for at that speed? It's 4760, she's up and left. What do you mean she's up and left? I mean, she's gone, panted Hercule. I looked all over the place. She must have overheard us and decided to go. Not like you to panic, Lizzie grunted. The Midlander wasn't staying here forever anyway, but she can't just leave of her own accord. Someone's bound to flag her down and phone ahead. I ain't panicking, Lizzie. But what if they do, though? She don't know any routes or landmarks. The poor girl could have run into something or worse. Oh, the signal men know all that. Lizzie wheeshed steam at the 4200 to get him to be quiet. You're flitting about like that's making me antsy. If it makes you feel better, I have some spare minutes floating around. I'll notify Mr. Turner about it. Oh, Lizzie, you'd be such a help if you... Yeah, shut your face and get back to work. And Lizzie huffed away. Mr. Turner felt relieved as he put the phone down, sitting back and cracking several stiff joints. All in all, a rather productive day, he thought. He checked the time and reached for his hat and coat. His mind felt quite a bit lighter than it did this morning. As he made his way down the staircase, however, he heard a loud wheeshing of steam and a voice calling. Heart sinking, he hurried to the platform to see what the noise was about. The shedmaster found Lizzie waiting for him. "Evening, sir. Sorry for catching your attention like that. I know it's not proper, but I did need to talk with you." "Right. What's going on then, Lizzie?" Lizzie reported everything that had happened through the course of the day, starting with Louise and ending with Hercule's anxiety. "Thank you for notifying me about this, Lizzie, but I am aware of how to do my job. Everything will be resolved by tomorrow morning." Mr. Turner promptly strode off down the platform. The next morning, Hercule was the first to wake. He didn't sleep well at all. 4760 hadn't turned up yesterday, and Lizzie hadn't turned out to be much help either. He growled to himself. Why hadn't he just kept his big mouth shut? "Hercule, are you okay?" The tank engine glanced up and to his right. 4760! The Ginty blinked at him, sitting comfortably in the shed berth. "Is something the matter?" she asked. Hercule was very relieved and confused. Oh, thank Brunel you're safe. Thought you'd gone and left us or something. Where were you?" "I was in the running shed having my boiler washed out," 4760 replied. "And why would I leave? I don't want to leave. What are you talking about?" Hercule told 4760 all about the rumours yesterday and the progression of events. When he was done, the other engines were awake, and 4760 was understandably worried. "Will I be staying here long? When and where would I go? What would I do?" "I can answer those," said a voice. Mr. Turner stepped across the rails and smiled at the engines. He was pleased with himself. "I had a long talk with the motive power department at Bath Green Park yesterday," he explained. "I had to ask to keep you here for a little while longer than planned, 4760, because our other engines coming in are still in the workshops being fitted and the such like. Bath's MPD was surprisingly lenient. They agreed that I should be able to have you here until our first engine comes in." "When's that then, sir?" asked Hercule. "Haven't the foggiest, I'm afraid," Mr. Turner sighed. "The bottom line is that for now, 4760 is here to stay." Lizzie and Louise could be heard muttering to themselves. "So!" Mr. Turner was careful to place emphasis on the word. "All this babble about 4760 being transferred elsewhere is untrue." "I simply assumed, sir, that—" "And I wouldn't like to think that any engines rostered here would get the wrong assumption about anything, Louise. It's hardly considered proper. Am I right?" "Yes, sir," Louise mumbled. Lizzie was wise enough to keep quiet. Hercule and 4760 noted how quickly Louise and Lizzie left for work. They chuckled. Hercule apologized for making a fuss, but there was no need for him to, really. It was just a simple misunderstanding after all. No harm done.